Hey guys, welcome back. It's Lucky here, and today we're going to go over things I wish I knew sooner when I was playing Dragon Age the Veilguard. This would have saved me a lot of time, a lot of frustration, and made me powerful way sooner. So let's talk about it. All right, let's do this rapid fire. The first thing that I wish I knew is that you can only romance one companion. So you'll be able to flirt with all of them for a prolonged period throughout the game, but then at some point, you're going to get to a point with a companion where you can romance them. It'll give you the option, and once you do that, you lock yourself out of romance with the rest of the companions permanently. So this is a permanent choice. So just be careful when that option pops up to romance a companion. Just know, hey, this is locking you into it, and it's locking you out of a relationship with everybody else. The next thing I wish I knew sooner is to check all of the vendors around the towns, even if they're selling trinkets and things that you can't really see a need for, like house decor or other things. A lot of times they'll sell like a fruit that gives you a permanent stat buff, like 1% increased damage permanently. And you can get multiple of those. So you're increasing your damage not by 1%, but instead by 1% for each one you find in the shops, and they're all over the place. There's tons of them. So massive damage gains. You can also get permanent health increases the same way. You'll find things for sale that say they're going to increase your health permanently by 25 points and so on. The next thing I wish I knew sooner is that the reputation caps out on these vendors. So you're going to have a reputation with every faction in the different zones, and you can level up your reputation simply by selling items that you find while you're playing the game. You sell these items to that vendor, it levels it up. Just know that it does cap out. So if I sell anything, it's still going to be at 32 out of 3,200. So make sure you're always trying to sell your items to a vendor who's not capped out already. Otherwise, you're just wasting that reputation possibility. And then once you have maxed out your reputation, you'll be able to buy all of the items in the shop, no problem. Some of these are locked behind upgrading your reputation with that vendor far enough. The next thing we should do is dive into the workshop, because this is going to be responsible for a lot of your power growth in this game. All of your gear, even some abilities can be upgraded in here. So when you go up to the workshop, you're going to see a menu like this one here. You're going to be able to upgrade the ranks of your shop. So right now, this one is rank 7 on this playthrough. And you can see here, I have the materials necessary, the currency, to upgrade it to the next rank. What you can do in the workshop is you can upgrade your gear. You can put stats on it that are going to make it slightly better. So let's go ahead and upgrade the rank of the shop. There we go. We knocked it up to 8, which gave us increase to the level of our gear. We can now take our gear to +8, and we've unlocked new enchantments that we can put on our gear. So if we go to the upgrade area here, we can see that, like if we look for the staff, it says we can increase this by 1 level, and it's going to add 20 cold damage and 7 stagger to this item. So we level it up, and we're going to be taking this +7 item to +8 over here. There we go. And now it's got those new stats. Similarly, we can do this for our chest armor here. We can take it up a level, and it's going to add 7 defense and 5% ability damage. So my abilities are going to hit 5% harder here, which is fantastic because we can also get more ability damage when we upgrade other pieces of gear. So you would come in here, you would upgrade everything, you'd max out the rank of it. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably wondering what it was like back in the age of King Arthur, but you won't have to wonder anymore. King Arthur Legends Rise will take you on a journey to rebuild the kingdom of Camelot, take on Arthurian quests, and forge mythical weapons. This game will be available on PC, mobile, and is the sponsor of today's video. Pre-register now so that you can jump right in when the game releases. To get an idea of what the game is, check out this trailer that just dropped.
A broken kingdom in need of a king. Besieged by monsters and madmen who threaten to resurrect dark gods. But a dangerous pact with an ancient blade could save this realm from destruction. And be willing to sacrifice all that you hold dear to win a war for the future of humanity. You have been chosen to bring together allies and enemies. You will be tested. But you are not alone. Excalibur calls. Will you answer? Your legend awaits.
Transport yourself to Arthurian times today with King Arthur Legends Rise through the link in the description below, and pre-register to stay up to date on the latest news. As a bonus, pre-registering will give you huge launch rewards. Follow Play King Arthur on all socials to learn more. Thanks for listening. Now let's get back to the video. The next big thing I wish I knew sooner has to do with companions, because companions are really important in this game. They can provide a lot of utility, a lot of power, but perhaps even more important than all of that is they provide access to various parts of the game. There's lots of pieces of this game that are tucked behind puzzles. whether it be rewards or gear. Like if you want to find an upgrade for your gear to take it from purple to legendary, a lot of times that gear upgrade will be in a chest that you cannot get to without the help of a companion. So think of each companion as a solution to a specific type of puzzle. One of the first companions you'll get is Harding, and she can move rocks. And so what you can do with her is have her raise rocks so that you can use them to reach higher places. She lifts the rocks up, you climb onto the rock, and now you can reach a ledge you couldn't reach before. Each of the companions has their own little puzzle solving tool like that. And what will happen is you'll run into their puzzle, but you'll notice that you cannot interact with it yet because you have not found that companion yet. And so you'll have to kind of make a mental note, okay, I need to come back here when I get the companion that's capable of solving this puzzle for me. So all of this to say, what I encourage you to do is you're going to be playing through the game and you're going to have a lot of quests. And I don't want to open up my journal because it might spoil something for you. But if you open up your journal, you have a long list of quests to complete. And I highly recommend focusing on the ones under the companion section. There's multiple tabs. There's going to be main story, then there's going to be companions, and then there's going to be side quests. Anytime you have a companion quest to do it first, because that's going to help you progress your companions, either to unlock them or to unlock their ability to solve your puzzles for you. And so what I would do is follow the main story until you've unlocked all of your companions. So anytime a companion quest pops up, do it and then follow the main story and then do your companion quest. And this way you'll eventually have all 7 companions. And anytime you run into a puzzle in the world, you'll be able to solve it. You won't have to make that mental note, oh, I need to circle back to this location later once I have found the companion that's capable of doing this puzzle. So that's one thing I would change on my second playthrough. I would focus on getting the companions unlocked first, and then I would go hard into all the side quests and becoming the completionist that I inevitably become in games like this, because I am normally the type of person that will do every side quest before continuing the main story quest. And in this game, you kind of can't do that. The side quest is sitting there. Sometimes you won't be able to do it because it's gated behind a primary quest. And sometimes there's going to be regions that are locked behind unlocking these companions so that you can unlock the puzzles that let you into the areas where the rewards are. And yes, you can romance your companions, and the game does a very good job of making it easy to know when you're romancing a companion. The dialogue option will have a nice bright pink heart in it, and that says, hey, this is a romance option. If you choose this, you're basically telling them, you're hinting to them, I am attracted to you. And so if you don't want to instigate a relationship of that sort with that companion, then you do not choose the one that has the heart next to it. And this helps to avoid the situation we all had in Baldur's Gate 3, where everybody in our camp wanted to bone us because we were nice to them. Right? So if you had that happen to you in Baldur's Gate 3, this makes it a lot easier to determine the outcome of the relationships you have with these companions. You can either choose the romantic option or not, and it's very clear which one is the romantic option. And then on that note with companions, just be aware that your choices in this game really matter. So the companion that you choose to bring with you or not could determine which one you progress and which one you don't, or which one you can and which one you can't because of the outcome of that situation. And then if 2 companions are pulling you in 2 different directions, the direction you choose to go in that situation could very much impact the outcome of one of those companions. So when you're in a situation and the game is saying you have to choose one or the other, just know that there's going to be some serious repercussions on the one you don't side with that could lead to that other companion not being available for a while and certainly not functioning the same thereafter. So that's all I can say without spoiling anything. Just be aware that in Dragon Age Veilguard, your choices actually matter, which is incredibly refreshing. I love that, and I don't get that feeling enough in games. And they matter from the very beginning of the game all the way to the end. So think about those choices you make. Another thing that is important to understand about companions is if you want your companion to do a substantial amount of damage, because their damage is okay, but their utility is great, right? So for instance, Bellara here, she's got a heal, and not only does she have a heal, she has a heal that triggers automatically. So when you have low health, replenish automatically triggers if it's not on cooldown. So she'll auto heal you anytime your health gets low, which can be incredibly convenient in certain situations. Their damage is decent, but if you really want them to put out really good damage, then what you have to focus on is something called detonating. So every companion has the ability to detonate something. So if we look at this character right here, it says ability, Fade Bolts, detonates sundered. So if you are able to sunder an enemy, then you'll be able to detonate them with this ability afterwards. Tosh here, for example, is one that I do that with a lot. But I use the Dragonfire Strike ability that she has to detonate Weakened. Because I'm a mage, I don't have easy access to Sundered, but I do have easy access on my Ice Mage to Weakened. And so I'll weaken the enemies, and then I will detonate them with Tosh. And when it detonates the enemies, it does a massive amount of damage up front, and then a delayed explosion for even more damage. And this is some of the biggest damage you can put out in the game, is these detonations. So how do you know when you're weakening an enemy? Well, that comes down to understanding your skills. And if any of the things I'm talking about are a little bit confusing, definitely watch my complete beginner guide, because I don't want to repeat everything I said in my complete beginner guide. This is supposed to be a little bit more of a quicker wish I knew sooner. Whereas in the complete beginner guide for Dragon Age Veilguard that I made, linked in the description, I go into each of these things in much more detail. So if you're feeling a little bit fuzzy on any of these topics, just know you can go back and watch that video, and I go into it in a lot more detail. There's timestamps and everything in there. But if we look at this ability right here, Ice Blast, it says that it applies Weakened. So I use this ability on an enemy, and then I follow it up with her ability, and it causes that detonation. It's as simple as that, right? Not too complicated. But if you want your companions to do damage, like significant damage, not just tickling enemies while you do all the damage, detonations are the way you achieve that. Outside of that, they're really good for healing, because you do have a finite number of potions that you can take into a battle. By default, it's like 3. And if you need healing beyond that, you're going to be needing to get it from your companions. So if you choose to take a companion in that doesn't have a heal, or they don't have a heal slotted, you might find yourself running out of heals in some of the more difficult fights in this game. There are some fights that are really hard, or at the very least, really long. They're a little bit of an endurance battle. And so it's really helpful to have the heals coming in from your companion while you're dishing out that damage for 10 or 15 minutes while you're fighting some epic boss that I'm not going to spoil for you here. But just know the game has multiple fights, if you want to do them, that last like 10, 15 minutes easy, right? This game has some really fun end game fights that last a long time, and those heals are real helpful. The next thing I wish I knew sooner was a really simple one. This one's kind of funny. It's kind of embarrassing. It has to do with the map. Every time I was in a zone, I would look at the map and I would go, okay, my quest is telling me to go here. So I'd run over to that door, and when I go through the door, it takes me to where I need to be for my quest. But there's a much simpler way to deal with this. There's another tab at the top that I missed for a really long time up here. It's World. So you click this, and now rather than running to that door and then running to the place, so this is the quest that's active right now, I could just click on this and teleport straight there from where I'm at. I don't have to run to the teleport station, walk through it, and arrive at my destination and then run. So much faster is to just open up the world map after you select the quest that you want to follow. You know, you open your journal, you tell it which quest you want to track, then you open up your map, and you go to that place straight from there. Saves you on a lot of running if you start doing that from the beginning. But just be aware, if you're teleporting everywhere, collectibles do appear from time to time as you progress the story. Like you'll walk by an area and pick up everything that was available, and then a little bit later in the story, you'll walk through that same area and there will be new items available that weren't there before. And these items are really important because they'll give you currencies, for example, mementos or something that will allow you to upgrade your workshop. You collect mementos, you get this currency here, and it allows you to upgrade this shop. So all that to say, don't over rely on teleporting around the world. Occasionally make the run, make sure there's nothing new, especially inside of towns where a lot of these things tend to pop up as the story progresses. Another thing to be aware of is that anytime you want to, you can respec. You can come in here and you can uncheck points, and you can put them in somewhere else if you want, and it's free. It doesn't cost anything. So you can completely 180 your build. Like you decide, oh man, I'm just not enjoying this type of mage or this type of rogue. You come in here and you can completely respec, go in a different direction anytime you want. You're not bound to anything. So this really, really encourages you to try different things, see what you like, see what abilities you like, and really play around with the different ways of buffing the abilities that you're using. Highly encourage you to take advantage of the respecking thing if you're someone that likes to build your own builds. And if you're someone that doesn't like to build your own builds and you just want to follow a build that you know works and you know is awesome, definitely check out my Ice Mage build guide that's linked in the description. I tried a lot of things, but by far that was the most fun one for me. I increased the AoE size of one ability until it performed in a ridiculous way, and it's basically just consumes the entire screen, freezes everything, and explodes everything. It's just a lot of fun. Highly recommend checking it out. Now, one of the really important things to know about leveling up your shop is that it's going to determine the rank of everything that you find and purchase in the world. So early in the game, when you've got your shop at rank 2, everything you find in the game is going to be rank 2. It's going to be +2, right? And then when you change your shop to +3, now everything that drops in the world and everything that you can buy in the shops is +3. So you're always going to want to have your shop leveled up as much as you possibly can. That way, everything that's dropping in the world is dropping at high of a level as possible. This is what determines how things drop in the world. So if you're a mage and you find a brand new staff that you've never found before, it's going to be +7 if your shop is rank 7, and you won't have to pay for those 7 upgrades, right? Which is huge savings, and it's nice. It makes it that much easier to switch weapons. And this is a fantastic system because now you're never beholden to something that you've invested in. Instead, it's very easy to switch over to whatever drops because it's already leveled up to the same level as your shop. If you like the stats on it, if you like the effects that it gives you, you can switch over to it, no problem. So we touched on upgrading gear, which is going to do small incremental stat upgrades. It's going to add a little bit of physical damage on the dagger, and it's going to add a little bit of stagger. Or if it's armor, it's going to increase the defense and the ability damage. These 2 stats at the top, those are the ones that increase every time you rank up a piece of gear. Now, the stats that you have available down here are determined by the quality of the gear, right? You've got common gear. So if we look at my weapons, I've got this common staff, which has no stats available underneath it. Then we've got this green one. We've got 1 stat available below. Then a blue one, we've got 2 stats. Then purple, you guessed it, 3 stats. And then of course, the legendary one, it's going to have all 4 stats unlocked, right? And so the way you unlock the stats on an item that are locked, like if we're looking at this one and we're going, man, those last 2 stats sure look juicy, would love to have those. How do I get those? Well, the way you get gear from common to uncommon to rare is to find that exact staff again. So the way you upgrade the rarity of items in this game is by finding a duplicate. So if I find another Stormcaller, that's going to take this Stormcaller from green to blue. And if I were to find another Spirit Caller staff, it would upgrade my Spirit Caller staff to purple. So then it would have 3 stats. And then if I found another Scorch staff, like this one here, it would take this Scorch staff to the legendary status. So this is a game where when you find a duplicate, you're actually really stoked about it because you've just massively upgraded one of your existing items and you've potentially taken it from something you're not interested in using to something you really want to use because you've unlocked one of those extra stats down there. And as you can see, when you're looking at these extra stats that are given to you by upgrading the rarity of these items are nothing to sneeze at. There's really good stats there. Now, there are 2 ways to get a duplicate of a staff that you already have or any other piece of gear. If it's a body armor, head armor, a ring, it doesn't matter. It all works the same way, right? And there's 2 ways to get a duplicate. One is to find it in a chest or after killing a mob or as a quest reward, right? You can find it by playing the game. The other is to purchase it from a vendor. So anytime you see a vendor, you're going to want to stop and see what they're selling because they might be selling a staff or a piece of armor that you're using that you want to upgrade the rarity of. So when that happens, definitely make sure to take advantage of that. If you're fairly thorough while you're playing through this game, you're always going to have just enough gold to buy everything that you want and some left over, right? I've never run out of gold yet, but I've never had tons to spare. So I'm always finding myself with enough gold to buy everything I want, as long as I'm not buying everything that I see is for sale. So for example, if I come over to this shop right here, we can see this guy, he sells armor. It's telling me I can't buy these yet because I need rank 3 for this. That's that lock with the 3 on it. I need to level this shop up to rank 3. The way I do that is by ranking it up here. So we can click rank up. Now it is rank 2 and we can rank it up again because we have this currency here, which is basically our reputation with them that we've earned by completing quests in this region. Rank that up again. Now we're rank 3 with him, right? So we come to the buy area. Now we can buy the rank 3 items and then there's these rank 4 items. Well, how could I get to rank 4? Well, what I could do is I could sell valuables that I find. So this is like your junk items that you find in any other game and you sell them for a little bit of extra gold. But it also, if you look at them, it says they give you faction strength. So I could sell some of these and you can see over here, I'm getting gold and I'm also getting faction strength. Or if I wanted to, I could sell all and get a load of faction strength, but I don't particularly need the items that I could buy from him. So I'm not too concerned about getting him to the next rank right now. So if I wanted to though, I could buy this item, this staff, and it's telling me if I buy this, it's going to become the epic staff on the right there. So the item will go from rare to epic because I already own a blue version of it. So if I buy another one, now it's going to make my staff purple. So if I was doing a necrotic build, boom, this would be perfect for me. Same thing with this. And now this is another quick tip, is that if there's a certain type of damage that you're trying to do or a certain type of build, then you can oftentimes look to the merchants that are in a region that align with that aesthetic, right? So right now I'm in a necropolis. And so where else would you look for gear that's giving you necrotic damage, for instance, besides the necropolis, right? This is the perfect place to look for that damage type if you are looking for it. And that's exactly what's being sold here. So there's definitely themes to the gear that is sold at the shops when it comes time to look for duplicates of something. So now you know how to take a piece of gear from +1 to +2 to +3, and you also know how to take it from green to blue to purple, right? So now let's talk about enchanting, because that's the other thing that you can do at the Caretaker's Workshop here. So enchanting is a system that lets you apply certain buffs to a piece of gear. So for instance, this chest armor here that I've got on, it's got the stats that it's got, but then also if I wanted to, I could enchant it and I could add 10% health. This is a workshop level 8 enchantment. So I've just unlocked this one when I leveled up my workshop to rank 8, right? I didn't have access to it before. And so we could take that, enchant it. And the way the enchantments work, just so you're aware, is you cannot run a duplicate enchant. So if you scroll down, you'll see this symbol on them. That means another piece of gear is already using this enchant. So you can't put it on this piece of gear. If you do, it'll take it off the other piece of gear. So you can't run duplicates of an enchant. They don't let you take advantage of the system in quite that way. But that's not to say that we're not going to be able to use the system to make our character incredibly powerful. And we do. So that's how the enchanting system works here. You come into the enchant, and jewelry has different enchant options than armor, has different enchant options than your staff does, right? They've all got their own list here, and you'll unlock more of those enchants as you rank up your shop over here. Now, the other thing about enchants that I didn't realize until way too late is that in here, you've got your list of armor that's equipped that you can enchant. Okay, that makes sense, but there's something else you can do. You can click on this right here, abilities, and you can enchant your abilities, which I played for an embarrassingly long time without realizing, because these other tabs are just like, it's my other gear, right? It's my other gear. So I had kind of clicked on these. I was like, oh, it's the gear I'm not wearing. I don't need to enchant it. But my abilities, these I want to enchant, man. And these enchants are so powerful. So for instance here, I've got 100% radius growth on my ability. So it's massively increasing the radius of this ability that I've been using, which is Entropic Sphere. And I have a video dedicated to my build. So if my build sounds as fun as it actually was, definitely check out my build guide linked in the description if you want to have the most amazing Ice Mage build that you can have in this game. And I highly recommend it. I had an absolute blast. I tried a lot of things out, but this was the funnest build that I found. So that is enchanting. You can put on some massive buffs on each piece of gear. It's worth mentioning that it doesn't cost any materials to enchant, but it does take materials to upgrade your gear. So when I'm upgrading my gear from, let's go over here to my companions, because you can also do all of this for your companions, by the way. You can upgrade their gear from +1 to 2 to 3. You can increase the rarity of it by finding duplicates, and you can enchant it just the same way. Okay, so if we look at the bottom here, it tells us what materials we're going to need to level up that piece of gear. There you go. And how do you get those materials? By doing quests, killing enemies, and one of the most common ways is actually breaking boxes. So anytime you see a big pile of boxes between you and your destination, roll through them, sprint through them, dash through them, whatever you have to do to break them without really breaking stride. That's why I recommend doing a quick dodge roll through them, or in my case, I'm a mage, so I do a little bit of a teleport through them, and it breaks them, and I get all the materials vacuumed into me instantly. And it's just a really nice additional funding of materials to make sure you always have enough to upgrade not only all of your gear, but all of your companions' gear as well. Now, the last thing I wish I knew, because this was really confusing for me at first, is that every zone has multiple states. And by that, I mean, you'll go to this zone here, Treviso, for example, and the first time you go there, it's part of a quest. It's part of a main story quest or a companion quest, and that unlocks that zone. And the version of that zone that you experience the first time you're there is best described as a small sample of what that zone really is, because you won't be able to go in a lot of directions. A lot of hallways will be blocked off. But once you complete that quest, that first quest that took you to that zone, you go through, you complete the first quest. If you come back to the zone after that, even if it's right away, the zone opens up, and now you're able to explore it and solve solve all of the puzzles right. And if you look at this one here, Treviso, I've got 5 out of 15 chests and 0 out of 1 of these statues. So there is loads more for me to explore. It says I've only found 31% of the zone. So if I was running through there, I could uncover 69% more of that zone. Whereas the Arlethan Forest, I've spent a bit more time in. I've got 95% of that zone discovered and 12 out of 13 chests and 7 out of 7 statues. So this game is a completionist dream. I found it so fun to be a completionist in this game, and it gives you just enough information on this map to let you know how much you're missing in that zone, how much more time you want to spend looking for the last things, you know, and where they might be. I'm doing this all before release, and so there is no wiki available online for me to look for what's missing, you know. I've got to run around in circles until I find it, but of course getting 100% in these zones will be nice and easy once you're able to do a quick Google search on the thing that you can't find, like this last chest here. I think that's going to make it really satisfying for players that really like 100%ing these types of games. Now, that's just a few of the things that I wish I knew sooner. When I dove into this game, it would have saved me a lot of time. I would have been a bit more efficient, especially when it comes to the companions, picking them up earlier so that when I was exploring, I was able to solve the puzzles that I was running into, and it would cause a little bit less backtracking later on. I think that's the, you know, one of the biggest things. And then just understanding the upgrade system, because it took a while before it fully clicked for me. But there's so much more to this game. Like, this video just scratches the surface, the tip of everything that you can do in this game and how it all works. And so if you want to know more, be sure to click on the video that's popping up in the top right corner of the screen right now and watch my complete beginner guide for Dragon Age Veilguard. It's going to have beginner's tips, but it also has advanced tips and everything else. And then also check out my build guide. Both of those videos will be linked in the description if you're looking for them. And enjoy the game. This is a fun one. I was really surprised by this game, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Massive shout out to my YouTube channel members. Thank you guys so much for supporting this channel in the big way you guys do. That small monthly donation goes a long way towards keeping this dream alive. Thanks so much for enjoying the content. I'm Lucky Ghost, and I'll see you in the next video.